You're listening to The Voluntary Life, where you can hear ideas for finding freedom in an unfree world. Visit thevoluntarylife.com to connect with the show and hear all past episodes. Here's your host, Jake.
Hi, it's Jake here. Welcome to The Voluntary Life. In this episode, I want to share with you a mind-blowing idea. It's a very simple one, but it's one that most people don't understand. And once you do understand it, you never really see the world the same way again. This idea is relevant for entrepreneurship and for every aspect of life, really. So just as a bit of context before I explain this idea, you've probably heard that lesson about entrepreneurship that many entrepreneurs are told and everyone kind of has to learn for themselves, which is at some point when you start a business, someone sits you down and says to you, as the business owner, what are the key things that only you can do? Because those are the things that you need to be doing, and everything else you have to delegate. You've just got to stop trying to do everything. And of course, this is a really important piece of advice and a really important process to go through. It's something that I've talked about a lot in previous episodes that I've done on entrepreneurship. And there's a chapter in my book, Becoming an Entrepreneur, called Make Yourself Redundant, which is all about how you, the entrepreneur, need to get out of day-to-day operations and stop doing stuff that you should have already delegated to other people. So that idea in general is a well-known one, but I want to talk about the concept that is behind that idea. It's a concept that comes from economics called comparative advantage, and it's one that almost everyone thinks they understand and don't understand. And I say this because even though I studied economics, I thought I understood the implications of comparative advantage very early on, and it took me ages to realize just how amazing and significant the implications are. So what am I talking about? Well, comparative advantage is the theory behind why trade is beneficial to both sides in a trading relationship. And that's what I was referring to in the entrepreneur example, was as an entrepreneur, what should you try and do yourself and what should you outsource to other people effectively? What should you pay other people to do and trade for their services instead of you trying to be self-sufficient and doing everything yourself? And this theory proves logically why trade is so powerful and so beneficial to both sides and why it's so important, why we all fundamentally rely on each other through trade to survive and to have all of the benefits of culture and civilization and economic development that we do have. So what most people think this theory says is completely wrong. So here's what most people think this idea is. Most people think, okay, yeah, trade, I know that. So I'm the best at one thing and you're the best at another thing. So I should specialize in what I'm best at and you specialize in what you're best at. And then we trade, and that way we both produce more, and through trade we both benefit more. And that's why trade's good, because I'm better at one thing and you're better at another thing. And so we should specialize in the division of labor and all of that. All right, that's not what comparative advantage is about. That's actually something else. That's called absolute advantage. Comparative advantage is this amazing process whereby even if one person is the best at everything, even if one guy is Superman and is the most skilled, most intelligent, most physically adept at every single thing that this person could do, it still benefits him to trade with others. And it still benefits others to trade with him even if they're not as good as him in any particular field. This is so counterintuitive that it's kind of mind-blowing when you get your head around it. But so what this means is that trade is beneficial even if you're not the best at anything. And it's also beneficial even if you are the best at everything. So let me give you an example. Superman and I get washed up on a desert island together. And Superman is better at everything than me. So for example, it takes me 3 hours to catch a fish. And let's just say for the sake of simple maths, it only takes Superman 2 hours to catch a fish. And whereas it takes me 4 hours to gather some fruit, it only takes Superman 1 hour to gather some fruit. So he's better at everything than me. He can do everything faster, but it still benefits him to trade with me. It still pays him to do so, because if he specializes in the thing that he's even better at, comparatively much better at, and I specialize in the thing that I'm comparatively not quite as bad at, then we both benefit. So for example, in this case, Superman could get his fish from me. He could gather 2 meals of fruit and then he could swap one of them for my second fish. And I could gather 2 meals of fish and swap one of them for his fruit. And in this way, Superman would only need 2 hours for a meal of fruit and fish instead of the 3 hours that he would have worked if he was self-sufficient. And I would only need to work 6 hours instead of the 7 hours if I was self-sufficient. So we both benefit from trading with each other compared to how we would have done if we just tried to do everything on our own. Superman benefits even though he can do everything better than me, and I benefit even though I'm not as good as Superman at doing anything in particular. This idea is so simple, but it has such profound implications, both for your own personal life and how you think about working with others and, specializing in what you're good at, but also for the world in general, because it explains how it is that we come to love each other and how we can all work together peacefully as opposed to fighting each other, fundamentally because it's in our self-interest to do so. Let me just explain some of those implications in a little bit more detail. So for you personally as an entrepreneur, this is why you have to specialize in what's really important for you and why you have to stop doing all the other things in your business that aren't the most important value-adding tasks that you, the entrepreneur, can do. Because entrepreneurship is a very good example of where you are probably going to be better at a lot of tasks to do with your business because you know your business. So you know how to do everything, probably better even than a lot of the people who are going to come and work for you, either as suppliers or employees or outsource companies or however it is. You probably know your processes better than them, so you probably could do the operations better than any individual employee. But it's madness for you to do so because the overall outcome is so much better when you focus on what you add most value doing, because that way you get to benefit from comparative advantage through a division of labor with other people working together with you, focusing on the things that they are comparatively less bad at, so to speak. And another kind of implication from this is you don't have to be the best at anything in order to make a positive contribution, both in terms of a business or the economy in general, and a positive contribution for yourself in order to benefit for yourself. So you don't have to be the very best at anything. You just have to find ways that you can contribute in collaboration, working and trading with others. You just need to focus on what you're relatively good at and find other good people that you can work together with. And just to explain a little bit more about the other implications that I mentioned, this theory or concept of comparative advantage, which is logically indisputable, once you understand it, you realize how it must be so. It has really beautiful implications because it shows that trade between individuals and in the economy generally, it's not a war where the strong are just going to overpower and exploit the weak. Because the fact is, even the strong, even those who are more skilled and more intelligent in every imaginable field, they alone are weak compared to if they cooperate and trade and interact with others. We all need each other, and we all can benefit from trading and cooperating with each other. And I think that's the best explanation for why we love our fellow humans. It's been argued by many people the other way around, that humans are inherently social and like each other, and therefore they kind of start trading and interacting and doing all these other things. But you can argue it this way around, that, because we have come to understand that we're better together and that we help each other by trading with each other, that's why we come to have affectionate feelings towards our fellow humans. Unfortunately, not all of us have come to understand trade as this positive and benign and mutually beneficial process. And many people still don't get it. But when you do get it, I think you can understand that even grouches can come to like their fellow humans when they understand that they benefit themselves from being nice, from interacting positively, trading, cooperating voluntarily. I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's a really mind-blowing concept when you start to sort of think through and get the implications of how it is that everyone benefits from trade, even those who are not the best at anything, then yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing. So anyway, I just wanted to share that idea with you. I'd love to hear what you think. And that's all for this week. I hope you have a great week, and thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to The Voluntary Life. If you have feedback about the show, please email jake@thevoluntarylife.com. If you enjoyed this program, please share the podcast with your friends or click the donate button on thevoluntarylife.com.